that's the road. I'm done doing what I'm told. I'm doing what I want, riding steel. Leather on my back and the wind in my face. I'm one with the highway and with the human race. This iron horse will separate the bull from what is real. It's the nature of the beast, we're riding steel. It's the nature of the beast, we're riding steel. We're riding steel.
Good morning and welcome back to Ridin Steel. We're back here at 103 Pleasant Street, Brunswick, Maine at Raven's Roost. And with me is Todd Sanders, my host for the show, one of my helpers. Dependable, reliable guy. Really appreciate it, Todd. We're here for ALS today, and inside Raven's Roost is a gentleman by the name of John Gregoire. He's in a wheelchair. He communicates through a computer, and he has ALS. And this run is to raise funds for an organization called Hope JG. And what they want to do, Todd, is purchase a home that will help and assist people with ALS when they're going through their toughest times as the disease progresses.
Yeah, I mean, ALS is a terrible disease. It's one of the most devastating diseases I can think of all the charity events that we cover that revolve around diseases. Because with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, as most people are aware, the person's body just deteriorates, and their mind stays sharp, so they can still articulate how they feel, and they know what's going on, and it's a very debilitating disease, and it's a terrible disease. I've known several people who have experienced this, and it's never a pleasant experience at all.
One of the goals that I have for Ridin Steel, of course, is to continue to raise awareness about ALS, but we also try to, I know Erica McIver, who is organizing this particular ride, is always trying to find somebody nearby that's local that needs the help. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. Todd and I will be interviewing Erica McIver, the organizer of this ride. Join us for Marley's Ride, Sunday, May 15th, 2016, at Pepper's Bar and Grill in Winthrop, Maine, and help support the Julie Kluge Camp for Girls. On June 4th, it's the 8th annual Chris Collin Ride, which takes place out of Bentley Saloon in Arundel, Maine. Please go to www.ridinsteel.com for details. In 2007, John Gregoire was diagnosed with ALS, and shortly thereafter, he lost his ability to speak. He was also told that his life expectancy was maybe 18 months. Erica McIver lost her dear friend Robert York to this dreadful disease, and for the past 3 years has organized this ride in his memory in hopes of bringing more awareness and assisting local people.
We're here now with Erica. Erica, you are the organizer of this event, and we were talking in the opener about Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, which is two common terms that most people know the disease by, but what is the actual clinical term for this disease?
Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
That's what you were going to say, right?
I was going to say that.
Erica, what motivated you to organize, because organizing rides is not an easy thing to do. This ride was obviously rescheduled because of inclement weather. You obviously can't control that. So there's a lot of curveballs that can get thrown at you and organize a ride. What made you decide to organize a ride around ALS?
This is our 4th year. Robert York, who I knew growing up, and his best friends are inside. Scott McLean came to me when Robert died and said, "Can you do something? This is a horrible disease." And that's how this started. It was in passing of a friend.
So you knew him and you actually witnessed what he went through?
Yes.
I have a question. What I would like to ask you, Erica, is how did you become connected with the Hope JG Foundation that we are raising these funds for today? How did that happen?
The end of last summer, beginning of fall, when the Ice Bucket Challenge was going crazy, I was watching the news one night, and after a segment about the Ice Bucket Challenge, they brought up the Hope JG Foundation, and I had no idea there was something trying to be done here in Maine. I hadn't heard of it, so that's started the thought process for this year's ride. I would like to keep it right here in Maine if we can, and they want to build a residency because we're the only one in New England that doesn't have one of these for ALS patients.
Now, the thing I see with ALS, and I've known, as I said, unfortunately, I've known several people who have passed away because of this, as you said, very terrible disease. the fact that it attacks the body but not the mind. To get someone to admit, and these are very proud people that go through this, to go into a home like that in and of itself would be a challenge, I would think.
I would think so, but when you don't have insurance or you need the help, I think that's when these places come in handy. I believe these people also want to make equipment available to those that are inflicted with ALS, which I know Robert had a problem with. These people need these equipment, and if you don't have insurance and you have to go through the state, you cannot own anything. The state will not help you unless you sell all your assets to get this equipment that you need while you're dying of this disease.
And how progressive this disease is. I mean, from diagnosis to the way it progresses through after diagnosis, it's a very fast-moving disease.
Well,
not always. Not how long has John had it? Some people it's very quick. In this past year, you know someone, and I know someone that within a year they basically were gone. Right. There's other people that have lived with this. You look at Steve Hawkins. If you watch that movie, he lived a long time with it. They don't know a lot about this disease, and they can't give anyone a term of how long they're going to have because the disease decides how long you're going to have and what your body can do and how fast it takes you down.
So to be able, as you said that, I do know someone, and it was very quick that it took his life, and the simple things that we all take for granted. And one of the things he told me when he first got it was it started with his feet. He knew something was going on with his toes. But simply getting up steps and things like that becomes extremely challenging. So if these people don't have the resources or supports that they need, fortunately the person I knew had a spouse who was in the medical field, so she was able to help him out considerably. He had a lot of close friends. They're probably watching. They know who I'm talking about. They were there for support for him, but for someone who may not have that support or that internal structure to provide them with the assistance they need, this could be huge.
Well, can I add something here? A couple of years ago, Erica organized an ALS ride, of course, and there was a couple that was benefiting from the fundraising. And speaking with that gentleman, he had expressed how it had taken a long time for them to diagnose this disease. And then when I spoke with his wife to learn what she was experiencing, the changes that they go through, it's debilitating, right? And so they all of a sudden can't do what they used to do. And the reliance upon her was growing. And the needs that he had were increasing. And these people here of Hope JG, I'm hoping from when we talk with them, we're going to learn about this as the viewers are, as to just what is it that these folks with ALS are experiencing and what needs do they have that are most, that would be a priority, I guess, all right?
It mimics other diseases too. So sometimes it takes doctors a long time to diagnose this. MS has very similar beginnings as ALS. Robert started with shaking, and it was Sky, his best friend. He kept dropping things in the shop where they would be working in the garage. And he finally told me, you really need to be checked because it was getting worse and worse, that he couldn't hold on to anything. So it also does mimic other diseases, and they don't always test for ALS right off, so it could go on for how long you don't know before they find out what you have.
So like we say, in a lot of these charity events that we do and these rides that we cover, early detection is key. So if you know someone who's experiencing symptoms like Erica just described, or you yourself are waiting and hoping something's going to get better or just go away, isn't always the best course, and many times is the worst course of action. So if you're experiencing anything like this, someone who is, encourage them to get checked out and take care of yourself, because that early detection is huge.
In addition to that, I want to say continue to watch this program today, because we're going to be speaking with people that have an inside look on this kind of thing. And so the education, you may be experiencing some of these symptoms that Erica has been mentioning here, and you don't even know what it is yet. And so this may help you. This show may help you today, and we're committed, Ridin Steel, and Erica is committed to organizing this ride. As long as I'm on the air, I'm committed to bring exposure to this particular disease, because I don't feel enough is being done about it. I really don't. Today we have Channel 6 here, which is an awesome thing.
That.
Yeah, and that's going to help us a great deal in our local state here. As you can see, the bikers are rolling in. I'm guessing that there's about 30 bikes here so far. There's more out back, and they're rolling in slowly but surely. So it promises to be a beautiful ride today, a beautiful day, and a very worthwhile learning experience.
Well, I think you hit on it. 50 bikes, 30 bikes, 300 bikes, 500 bikes, whatever we get. The bikes are great. The money that's raised at an event like this is great. But the awareness that an event like this can generate, and that people that come to an event like this can spread by word of mouth, not only watching the show, and hopefully everybody continues to watch the show, and not only for this cause, but for all the causes that we cover. I mean, unfortunately, and I say this often, there are a lot of causes out there. Today it's ALS, but that's one of the benefits of the show, of rides like this. It's bringing awareness, more so than perhaps financial gain. It's also bringing support to those who may be suffering from a condition such as this. As Steve mentioned in the opener, there's someone here that's experiencing this. So the support of strangers is huge as well.
And that's why this isn't a long ride, because I want everyone to ride with a memory if they know someone from Lou Gehrig's that has passed, or anyone else. But I want to raise awareness, and that's why we have the Hope JG. I want them to hear this story. It's more about their story and awareness than it is about the ride.
Now, Hope JG, where would people get more information about that?
They can go to their website, Hope JG Foundation.
Okay.
And they also have a Facebook page.
And I'm sure Steve has always posted. He's probably posting it right here. I like to put him on the spot and say it's right here, or maybe right here. Who knows where it may be. But check out the Hope JG website. The link will be somewhere on the Riding Steel page or calendar. And Erica, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
With me now, I have Linda Gregoire. Linda, obviously it'd be foolish of me to ask you why you're here, but I'm going to anyways. What brings you to this charity event today?
Well, we were asked kindly by Steve to represent the families in Maine with ALS. We're trying to bring a residence to the state of Maine so that people with ALS have a home that can no longer be cared for at their home. We would like to build a residence in the state of Maine because quite often as ALS progresses, a lot of nursing homes aren't equipped to take care of them.
Yeah.
So.
Now, as we were talking to Erica, she said that a lot of states in New England actually have residences such as this, and Maine is one of the few states that does not. Is that true?
There's one in Chelsea, Massachusetts, and that's the one that we are modeling after.
Okay. Now, what
Deal specifically with ALS only?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, ALS, MS, neurodegenerative diseases,
Okay.
because
All right.
they have specific needs.
Right.
Now, what do you see as being some of the biggest challenges that people or family members of someone who's going through ALS experience?
It's progressive, and it can be very challenging as far as getting people in the home. You have to build ramps. There's a lot of accessibility problems, and that's part of the residence. That'll be totally accessible, and it'll have technology built in so that they can control their environment.
Right.
They can control heat, lights.
So they can still be self-sufficient.
They can be as independent as technology allows them, and it's pretty independent.
And that's one of the big things with ALS. I've mentioned it a couple times in our opener. ALS affects the body, but the mind stays completely intact.
Right.
So people that are experiencing ALS know completely what they're going through, what they're losing as far as mobility and the things they just can't do anymore. So
Right.
this would give them at least some of that independence that they still probably crave.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, Steve Sailing, the Sailing residence down in Massachusetts, he created the technology that controls the house, and it's all done by infrared, and they do it off of their eye gaze or their iPad.
Technology's come a long ways.
Yes,
I have
it
a
has.
question. How close are you to actually achieving the goal of attaining a home for the Hope JG Foundation?
Well, that's why we're here today, raising money, awareness, getting people to understand that there's a great need for it. There's approximately 60 people in the state of Maine with ALS.
Right. Are there any buildings that you're already looking at, properties perhaps? Anything, have you gone that far, or are we at the baby stages of this?
Baby stages.
Okay.
So now we talk about events like this. It will raise more awareness probably than money. WCSH is here covering it, so you can put out the word to them, you can put out the word to our viewers. If somebody wants to provide financial support for this cause that you have, they're obviously not here today, where can they go to make a donation or get more information about it?
Our foundation, the Hope JG Foundation, there's the ALS Association, but to build the residence, it would be the Hope JG Foundation.
So people watching at home, if you can check out the Hope JG Foundation, every little bit helps. It's obviously a great cause, a great mission, a great goal. But like Steve said, we're in the baby steps. It's a goal that's a ways down the road, but with the help of people out there watching, we can close that distance considerably.
Right. We can actually make a difference here just by doing this and bringing the awareness out there. We can actually provide a home for folks who are suffering with ALS, make this happen here in our home state. So it's locals helping locals. So please go to their website and do what you can to help.
Anything else you want to say, or did you get it all?
It was needed a long time ago.
But there's no time like the present,
That's
right?
right.
So here you are,
That's why we're doing this.
and now you got a face with the organization. So please do every little bit you can to help, because every little bit does help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Join us for Marley's Ride, Sunday, May 15th, 2016, at Pepper's Bar and Grill in Winthrop, Maine, and help support the Julie Kluge Camp for Girls. On June 4th, it's the 8th annual Chris Collin Ride, which takes place out of Bentley Saloon in Arundel, Maine. Please go to www.ridinsteel.com for details.
Made a successful run around the River Road over through Durham and through Lewiston, and then back through Lisbon, and we're back to Raven's Roost here. With me I have John and Linda.
So, John, what was it like to lose your voice?
I remember how easy it was chatting with Linda. That's what I miss most, just chatting for hours. I remember doing silly voices for my boys when they were young. And the feeling of getting a lung full of air and just yelling. I remember speaking with clients for hours about their problems. And I remember singing. I can still sing in my head. Maybe after Vocal ID, we can work on tapping into those brain waves I can hear.
So obviously, that's touching. I mean, it's to hear that. The ability of speech, for that to be one of the first things to go, this is a very frustrating disease, obviously, and it's a very challenging disease, and it throws all sorts of obstacles at people, but when they can't even verbally articulate with you what's going on or what they're experiencing, that just compounds it to the 10th degree.
Yeah.
So how long has he had the computer to speech system?
Right off, because he couldn't communicate his needs. So we had to and it started off as the small iPod, but then as technology has advanced, he went into the iPad, and he also has an eye gaze machine that if his hand should fail him, he'll type basically with his eyes. And instead of his fingers, he'll pick the letters with his eyes, and it will speak for him.
The Hope JG Foundation last year to address an unmet need for ALS patients and their families. We currently are pursuing a dual vision. The first is to build an ALS/MS residence in Maine. The second, which goes hand in hand with the wonderfully liberating technology of the residence, is to identify innovative products and services which can do so much to enhance the life of families afflicted with ALS, MS, and other neuromuscular diseases. Knew what I know today, when I was diagnosed, I would immediately have started message banking. But I had time. I was just lacking awareness. If my voice loss was more sudden, then the promise which Vocal ID offers would be my next choice, and I would begin searching for a donor voice, while my natural voice was still fresh in my family's minds. They would obviously be the best judges for a match.
Show on his face.
Please consider helping John and Linda Gregoire's vision for Hope JG become a reality, and join us for the ALS Ride 2016 in memory of Robert York. This ride takes place out of Raven's Roost on 103 Pleasant Street, Brunswick, Maine on June 26 at 11 a.m. Thank you. This young lady that I have with me is Jen, and she is the best friend of Linda and John, right? Equally,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And why I wanted to pull you aside is because being a best friend, you've been there before John was diagnosed with ALS, and with Linda as well. And this means that you've seen a lot of changes occur. And I want people to get an idea of what it feels like to watch the quality of life change so drastically for such good friends.
Yeah. When I first met John, I met him at a church function that we did, and we were playing bocce ball together. And he has an amazing sense of humor, and just really got to know him a little bit through that and through church, different functions and things. And it was, like she said, the week before Christmas when the diagnosis came, and we just began to watch, like, my husband and I were greeters at church, and we would watch him walk in and struggle with the walking and struggle with the talking, and then within probably, I can't remember exactly, but like 2 to 3 months, he just began to go downhill with the mobility issues. So after the first year, he pretty much had gone into a wheelchair.
When we're friends with people, we go out, we do stuff,
Yeah.
and we have fun together,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that what we do?
Yeah.
You find
Yeah.
friends and you do stuff.
Yes.
And, obviously, we were discussing at one of the stops that everything has to be pre-planned these days, right?
Yes.
And you, as a best friend,
Yeah.
have been affected by this as well, because now when you call Linda to go out and do something, it's
Yeah.
like it can't just be done at
Yeah.
the snap of a finger or a text
Right.
or a call.
Right. There's a lot of things that did change as far as them being able to come and do different activities with us and be able to be a part of that. But they are so strong, and they would make it possible if they could. Like, Linda would do anything she could to get John to where he needed to be for social functions, as well as transporting him to Boston. And it is a process. I mean, their day may start, if he has a 9 o'clock appointment in Boston, her day starts at 5 in the morning. So it changes everything. You begin to be like, okay, well, and actually, when we built our new home on the lake, I had told the contractor, I don't care what the house looks like, but I want my best friend John and Linda to be able to come over here and get into my home without any ramps. And he said, we'll do whatever it takes, Jen. So they've been able to come over and sit in our home with us, and it's been such a blessing. And but it is very taxing for them to have to think through everything in the course of their day to get the tasks accomplished that need to be done. And then when he had the feeding tube put in, that became another hurdle that they kind of had to adjust to. It's like, okay, well, I watched Linda navigate through all of that. Like, I have to make sure he gets fed before we go out, and then when we get back, he gets a feeding. And Linda and John are just so incredible in that they adapt to whatever's been given to them. And I think they get that spiritually. They have a foundation that is solid, and so they adapt very well to their environment. And we've gone out to concerts with them, and we've gone to listen to his brother plays in a country music band, so we went to that. And they just kind of do what they need to do so that they can still enjoy life. And then when John was given the vision for the Hope JG Foundation, we watched even more of a transformation in him. He began to move and communicate with purpose. His communication began to transfer a little bit into, okay, what do we need to do to get this ball rolling, as they were experiencing the problems getting around their home and navigating the wheelchair around and things like that. It's just, he was unsettled, and he was like, no, there needs to be a place where families can still be families. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, Todd. Once again, we're at the end of the show, and boy, I'll tell you, this ride and what we learned today was amazing. And as always, I want to ask you what you learned today, buddy.
Really was inspired by was the spirit of John. And you're given an 18-month life expectancy, and back in 2007 he's with us here today. He's communicating. He's the founder of a group that's trying to create a home in the state of Maine to support.
Do you know that somebody actually took him mountain climbing?
Knowing John for the limited time that I've known him, it doesn't surprise me. And I was talking to his wife while we were all together, and one of the songs that came to mind was Tim McGraw's song, "Live Like You Were Dying," and she said that's on his favorite playlist, and that really epitomizes him. And it's just, he's such an inspiration, and I'm humbled to be around people like that and what they're going through. I don't want to imagine it. I can't imagine it, but I give them all the credit and kudos in the world for being able to do what they do.
I hope you enjoyed today's show, and that you will continue to watch Ridin Steel. And please go to our website at ridinsteel.com and check out our calendar of events and support these causes that we come out to. Everybody is invited. You don't need a motorcycle. The general public, if you are a compassionate person and you like meeting new people, please show up at these events. I have contacted John and Linda recently and received updated information that is very encouraging, as you'll see in the following footage. John and Linda finally got to hear John's voice for the first time in over 7 years.
Yes. So, thank you, wonderful, and
We're grateful to have this opportunity.
Oh,
Amy, I remember the email I got from you way back when this all started, and to have this is a gift for us. Okay, so we've been waiting for this for so long. I know, and we're glad that you like it.
It's kind of our favorite.
Thank you.
I'd say we're on the right track.
I'm Steve Marois with
Todd Sanders,
and thank you for watching Ridin Steel. Please consider helping John and Linda Gregoire's vision for Hope JG become a reality, and join us for the ALS Ride 2016 in memory of Robert York. This ride takes place out of Raven's Roost on 103 Pleasant Street, Brunswick, Maine on June 26 at 11 a.m. Please go to www.ridinsteel.com for details.